Welcome to today's episode of Unfolding with KK. This is a conversation that we don't get to have very often. I am sitting down to have a discussion with my father in law, who is quite literally kept alive by a machine. But instead of approaching life from the view of limitations, he has a totally renewed appreciation for life. And I'm excited for you to hear what he has to say. Excited to sit down with you.
I'm doing part of it because of curiosity of what this all is,
Yeah.
and the other part of it is if there's any way that I can ever help you, of course I want to do that.
Thank you. Thank you. This is, I think we've talked about it in the car coming over here, and I talk about it with anyone that's willing to sit down and share their story with me. It's it's a I it's it's a podcast that's a little selfish, because it's me wanting to get clarity on people's stories and I've been inspired by so many people taking the time to tell me their story, and I've learned it sitting across from them in dining room and kitchen tables that, it's what keeps me going.
Well, that's interesting. And you pretty much know all about me if anybody knows.
I do, but I want to get I'm excited to sit down with you today for many reasons because I've known you for 25 years. You are my father-in-law. You are someone that I am very close to. And you have a really fascinating story. It's also a very rare moment, I think, to be able to sit down with somebody who has faced some of the things that you have faced. And I haven't heard I haven't taken the time to ask you some of these things. So
You're busy.
we're busy. Um so I think our past leaves clues as to how we approach things that come further in our chapter. So can you kind of remind me and tell anybody that's listening or watching, like, who are you? Like, where did you grow up? Tell me a little bit about your childhood.
No, I was born in southwestern Michigan and lived my entire first 18 or 19 or 20 years of my life there. Uh, Born to a poor family that I didn't know was poor,
Yeah.
had no idea we were poor. Um, Went to a Catholic elementary school for the first 8 years of my life. Then a public high school after that in a small town in Michigan of 5,000 people. I mean, it's tiny. There was nothing there. There was no reason to stay there after school because there was nothing there. There were like two industries. Um, we didn't even have a McDonald's till a decade after I moved out of town. And I couldn't wait to get out when I finally graduated from high school in 71. Well,
And you were a gift and a very big surprise to your parents.
when
How old was your mom and dad when you were born?
uh, mom was 40, dad was 45. I have one sister
That's my age.
almost 10 years older than me.
Yes.
So when my mother was very ill near the end of her life, I asked her one day, I said, okay, Mom, it's time to put the cards on the table.
Yeah.
I was a mistake, wasn't I? She said, no.
No. You're not a mistake.
She said, you're a big surprise.
Yes. Did you ever did you feel like that gap? Did you ever feel like you had parents that were a little bit older?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I felt, start with my sister. When I was 8 years old, she was gone. She went to college, got married right after college.
Yeah,
So I was, in a lot of ways, like an only child.
certainly.
That 10 years made a big difference. Um, yeah, I knew my parents were older. They didn't do a lot of the things that my friends' parents did. And part of it was money. They didn't have money to do stuff. and part of it was just there's an age difference, you know. Definitely knew that. In fact, it set in my mind the determination that I wanted to make sure I was as young as I could be when I started having children so that I could be young with them. Brian's mother and I got married at 20. I was 24. I think she's 3 years younger than me, I think. So she was 21, I think, and that was in '77, and he was born in March of '79, and I honestly remember the moment of conception. I feel it, and I thought, "What are we doing?" Because we were in no position to have a baby, because we did everything backwards, and by that I mean we got married, uh, then we moved to Michigan. She worked and I worked, and I got myself back in school because I had gone to college right out of high school and had no idea why I was there.
Yeah.
And my parents couldn't afford it, and I figured that out, and I just kinda quit doing it. But I knew I had to get back in, so, yeah, when she got pregnant with Brian, it was like, "Holy cow." And then we bought our first house, and then I graduated and then I got a job, and we got our second house. And then we moved all over the United States, mostly because I was fortunate enough to be successful in my job. She was a nurse, so she could work anywhere we went, which is the great part about nursing is they're still in demand. They can walk into a hospital and get a job like that if they got any kind of credentials at all.
S
So, yeah, that was why I had my kids young and because my parents were older and I mean, dad was 65 when I was 20. He retired.
Yeah.
He died at 75, I was 30, and he was gone. And I had that discussion with Brian the other day. I said, "Geez," he said something about, "Glad you're my dad," stuff like
Yes.
that, and, I said, "I'm just glad I'm still around," and told him I was 30 when my dad left. Brian is older and for at least a while longer still has me,
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's 17 more years with you
big
at
difference,
least.
huge difference.
So, all right, so you a little bit to unpack there. I wanna just ask you a few questions. So I learned something about you in the car today on the way over here. Um, you had aspirations of perhaps going into the military.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that. No. I know you're a big military buff.
Yeah, I am.
Yes.
Dad served like everybody my age, their dads were in World War II or Korea. Around those times, your grandfather was in Korea, I believe, right? Yeah, and Grandpa Allie, and,
But was stationed in Alaska.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was kinda weird, but I love that man, but, yeah, I felt that it was an honorable thing to do, and like I told you, my dad taught me out of it.
Yes.
I wanted to fly. I was captivated by airplanes. Turns out I wouldn't have been a very good pilot because I c don't handle motion very well at all, but before I knew that, that's what I wanted to do. And my dad talked me out of it because of the Vietnam War. He said, "Hey, most of the POWs there are shot down pilots. Please don't do that." So I didn't. And, in college, when I graduated from high school, I went right to college. My sister and her husband talked me into it. And parents never tried to dissuade me, but I know they were thinking, "How are we gonna pay for this?"
Yeah. Student
And,
loans did not exist then.
no.
No.
And, but it also got me a deferment because there was still a draft back.
Yes. Yes.
The draft ended while I was in college, but for those that don't know, they used to draw a number associated with your birthday, the year when you turned 18. Turned out I was in college then, and my number was very high. I don't remember what it was. It was well into the deep 200s, and they were no longer taking that deep for draft. If you had a low number, you were automatically going to be drafted, and you were automatically going to go 99% chance to go to Vietnam. So I avoided that war, and I had mixed feelings about it. I felt like I should be there because it's the patriotic thing to do. America's at war, I should be there. But by the time I was old enough, it was winding down pretty quickly anyway. And then Nixon ended the draft, and it never was an issue again.
And then so somehow you get into, you have a degree in, you get into electrical.
Yeah. When I was in Kalamazoo, which is where I went to college, uh, I was a musician from high school, garage band way back in the dark
Yeah, I've
ages.
seen some
But it was a lot of fun. I had a regular band, a regular group of guys, and we played a lot. And in those days, for a garage band, we made a lot of money. And there was this store in Kalamazoo, I'll still remember to this day, was called the Sound Factory. And a friend of mine worked there, and I started going there, and there was a guy there who had a business upstairs. I was starting to manufacture what are called sound modification devices. They still exist today. He was way on the front end of it. Um, Things that make your guitar primarily sound different. And I ended up helping him for a while. He ended up giving me a job, and that's kind of how I got into the electronics thing. I was building these things. I was the only builder for him, and that got me interested. But I was and one of my good buddies at that business was an electrical engineer, and that kind of pulled me towards that education. But I wasn't qualified. I was intelligent enough, but I didn't have all the background classes that I had to take. By the time I finally got into it, we were married. We had Brian, and I was working full time and going to school, and their mom was working full time. I was literally working midnights,
Yeah.
and I didn't do well in school because I hadn't taken the required preparatory classes. So I never envisioned my career in that when I was in high school. So I stumbled through college. I really did. And I know that upset their mother. I would have been upset too at me because she's the consummate student, straight A's. When she was in school, we were married, she shut down everything but school. It was amazing how she could do that. I couldn't do it. And I don't say that to be negative. It's just the way she is versus the way I was. And long story short, when I graduated, they have the on-campus recruiters, and I wandered into one day and interviewed, and they liked me because I wasn't a 22-year-old coming out of college. I was a 30-year-old.
Yeah, he had some experience.
And they really felt like that was valuable to them. I had no idea what that company did and ended up working for them for 20 years. It took me all over the country and it was all in all a fairly good experience. Now, the funny side of the story is, excuse me, when I left that company, they were in the process of being sold. And I didn't like what I saw coming. And then by the same token, I was in the process of a divorce and the company wanted me to move to DC. I was managing, among many other offices, also the District of Columbia office. There was no way in the world I wanted to live in Washington, DC. I'd already done all the big city stuff, and I was reaching the point in my life where I didn't want to do that anymore. So I left the company and ended up working for another company, all this in sales and sales management. Here's the electrical engineer who was thinking microelectronics when I graduated, ended up working in the power industry all my life. And it was a good experience. The second company, I worked in 20 years for them and then retired here. They also wanted me to be a manager, and I said, no, thank you. I have the t shirt. I just don't want those kind of troubles anymore because working with people can be difficult. And at one time, I had 33 direct reports.
Yeah. So you get a degree in electrical engineering and you go in, you think, "Oh, I'm gonna do electrical engineering," and joke's on you, you get into sales, um,
Electrical power system sales, yeah,
and you get into sales
and then management.
and then managing, which is nothing like what you go to college for, which is what a lot of people find themselves in,
Absolutely right.
one of those situations. Um, I know we're gonna get in and talk about, the journey that you've had with your health, but managing people, what did it teach you about yourself?
I think I really had to develop because you don't get much training at managing people.
Yeah.
I think they made me a manager, my very first manager's job. I'm really not sure why. I think it's because they thought I was older and more mature and able to do it, maybe, I don't know. I was working out of the Detroit office, even though it was out in the suburbs, and, boss came to me one day and said, "There's a guy that wants to interview you for a manager's job in Indianapolis." I had no idea that was coming. Ended up doing it, which led to several other jobs, but, yeah, that first job, managing people was really difficult. People were already in place that had been there through previous managers,
Yeah.
so you're the new guy.
Oh, yes.
They're all looking at you like, "What's this guy gonna be like?" Is he gonna be a good guy?
Yeah.
And everyone's interpretation of a good boss is different,
Sure.
is very
It is. Everyone has
different.
different needs.
I think you learn that pretty much on the job. I don't think I got some manager's training, but it was more of the, "Here's the HR stuff you have to do, here's the paperwork you have to do, here's the reports you have to do." Very little about how to successfully manage a group of people. Every group is different, every group has a different dynamic. I think it helped me a little bit that I'm maybe a little bit of a people person.
You're extroverted.
Yeah, I think that
Just a little.
helps.
Just a
Uh,
tiny bit extroverted.
which I never used to be. I used to be a total introvert.
That's so shocking to me to hear
I
you
don't know
are.
how that change transpired, I really don't. I think maybe it was a defense mechanism when I left the
Yeah.
8th grade in Catholic school and had to enter the world of public school where most of my friends were, if that makes any sense. You at least aren't in private school, but it's a little different, I think, than the Catholic school was, but nonetheless, I was lucky enough not to lose my friendships that were in public school, and I had a few friends in the Catholic
Yeah.
school system too, but it felt very awkward going into the public school. I definitely felt out of place in ninth grade. Suddenly, I was no longer taught by nuns. Suddenly, the rules were totally different, and I think that's when I started becoming an extrovert. Might not have been to my better, but it happened regardless.
It is interesting the survival skills that we're presented with. But and maybe, I don't know, maybe it also tapped into something because some of us, like the way I define introverted or extroverted is the way people make you feel. And so if I'm with a large group of people all day, my energy is depleted.
'Cause they draw it out of you.
But if I am like one on one is very is that's my comfort zone.
Now,
And being probably a little being alone, I recharge. And like my mom, who is very extroverted like you, my mom is charged by people. And so it's interesting what charges us and what depletes us and how that goes on. I mean, in a sales role, yeah, I'm an introvert in a sales role. You're an extrovert. I'm one-on-one is my gift. And but a lots of people is a different is a just a little bit of a different experience from me.
I still say you don't give yourself enough credit, but I think you have a good realization of yourself.
Well, yeah, you know.
Situations, whether or not you can adapt is what makes you successful.
Yes.
I just got lucky, that's all I can say.
It's interesting to me to hear you talk about your career. And so, um, it's interesting. I guess I thought I was going to hear you say, I had like on my board, I wanted to go into management. It
It
happened.
unfolded for me. The Indianapolis opened the door, and I said to my wife at the time, I said, "Have this opportunity. What
Yeah.
do you think?" In fact, I did that at every move we made because family is critical to me. It always has been, always will be.
And you moved your family all over the
I
country.
did. We were in Indiana not that long, and a vice president that I used to work for had been a sales vice president, was given a divisional vice president's job in a facility, and literally out of the clear blue sky, he called me up one day and said, "Hey, I got a job for you in San Diego. Are you interested?" At that time, I thought, "Wow, San Diego, what a beautiful place."
Yeah.
Um, and he told me about the opportunity and stuff, and so I went home and said, "Hey, got this other opportunity. The kids were very young then. And I said, "They they want me to come to San Diego. I can say no. If I say no, like in a lot of companies, it's probably the end of your opportunity career.
Yeah.
If you say no to a major promotion, they're gonna say, "Okay, well, it's not it doesn't fit the corporate path," so we ended up going to California. It was a horrible, horrible career mistake. San Diego was spectacular. We loved living there. I remember with you being in real estate, maybe I've told you this story. We lived in Indianapolis in a beautiful home. It was a two-story colonial, four-bedroom, two-and-a-half bath, basement, typical Midwestern kind of house. We were the second owners, so it was relatively new. And it was in a subdivision, but it was on a 1-acre lot, which was a big yard. We liked it a lot. When we went to California, I I went out there. Every place we went, I would go by myself, start working there, try and get things settled, find a realtor, and then bring the family out or the wife out at least,
Yes.
and find a house and start a new life. And I told the realtor at the time, he said, "What are you looking for?" And I had no idea. I knew what I was looking for. I had no idea what it was like in California. It's going to cost you. I told him what I was looking for, and he goes, "Well, for that kind of money, I'll never forget this. Sometimes people say things to you that you'll never forget. This is one of those." He said, "Go to H Gregg, which is a big appliance store. Get 4 refrigerator boxes, and you can live under a bridge out here, California, for that much money."
Yeah.
And we spent an outrageous amount of money, but I had mortgage assistance, which was spectacular.
Yes.
To
Which is a
shorten that story up
dinosaur.
very quickly, we had a beautiful home on a postage stamp, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, no basement because the basements aren't common in California. Literally on a postage stamp, I could cut the grass in 10 minutes, but it was still very nice. And then I realized not long after that, that the division that I had chosen to become a part of was being scrubbed by the company. Oh. And here we are in California, don't know anybody really to speak of, don't have any connections, and my job is going away. And they paid to move us out there. They paid a fortune back in the day when companies moved executives in all over the country.
Yes, I've been on relocation teams. They
We had 100% mortgage assistance the first year, meaning our mortgage
yeah.
on our $165,000 home in Indianapolis was equal to our mortgage on our $365,000 home in San Diego. They paid the total delta. They paid to move us all the way out there. We were not a cheap move. And then within a year, it was like the division's going away. Another VP who I had known throughout the company called me up and goes, "Hey, ever been to," this is why these phone calls are so weird. "Have you ever been to Richmond?" I said, "Gosh, no, I've been through it on my way to Florida, but I've never spent any time there." He goes, "Well, I got a job for you there. I need to know in I forget what he said now, like 72 hours if you want the job or not." So I came here and went back home and said to my wife again, "Well, my job here is going away." She was already working in the hospital system out there again, thankfully. I said, "We got to get out of here. I got this opportunity. What do you think?" And she agreed, and we moved to Richmond, and we've all been here ever since. The kids, basically this is their home, even though they were born in Michigan, lived in Indiana,
Sure.
lived in San Diego, now live here. So life path that I never anticipated.
Yeah, I think there's so many folks that think that we can just control, and it doesn't often end up like that. And I think most people are sitting along different parts of their journey in places they never thought they would be. It's not always a bad thing. It's not always a good thing. It's different. So you've managed a lot of people, direct 30 some.
33,
Yeah,
that was the most in 4 different states.
it's a lot, especially with them all being direct reports and lots of people under them, for
That's
sure.
crazy.
So as you I mean, I think what's so, inspiring about about your story is, um, how many times life has thrown you a curveball and you've stood back up, stood back up, stood back up.
Well,
And a biggie is Joanne. And, you navigated so not only have you had a career that took you all over the country with a tremendous amount of stress and a lot of blessings too. Um, you were married to, that's when I first met you. You were married to Joanne, who I instantly connected with. And sitting here at 45, it's pretty surreal that we're talking about this. Um, and in her mid 40s, she gets diagnosed with early onset.
she never really actually got an official diagnosis. No doctor ever told us
What it was.
what it was, but it was very clear what was beginning to happen. But yeah,
She
it's
was in her early
extremely
40s, right? When she, or how old was she?
you
Can you
know,
ish?
it's getting gray to me now, but she was somewhere in her mid-40s, and I noticed that suddenly she was disorganized and forgetting things.
Yeah.
I specifically remember
And she was
one
an
day
artist. Yes, she was very sharp.
she was very sharp, and your dad was organizing a golf tournament out at Amelia,
Yeah.
and I went out there to help him, and she rode out with me, and then she wanted to go home, and I said, "Well, just take my car and go home, and I'll get a ride home with your dad," because he really needed the help, there was a lot going on,
Yeah.
and, she said, "I can't find the way home," and she got really nervous and really upset, and I went, What do you mean you can't find the way home?" And then it kinda rolled from there, and
Did she start having seizures?
yes,
Yes.
I took classes because I wanted to learn about this because nobody would really talk to me about it. The only information I got from doctors was, "Well, every journey is different, but they all end the same." And I didn't know what they meant by that at first. And I had to ask him, "What do you mean by that?" And he goes, "Well, everyone's progression through this disease is different,
But no one ever said to
but
you,
nobody gets out alive."
but no one ever said she's got early onset.
Nobody
Yeah.
ever said that. I kept her home as long as I could.
You were a care you were in full caretaker mode
See, for me,
for
that's the
10 years.
natural human thing to do, especially for someone you love. The marriage vow says, for better, for worse, for
Sickness and
for
health.
sickness or health.
Yes, yes.
And I could not imagine doing anything else for her. Um, it's been 17 years since she died.
Just doesn't seem possible.
Nope.
I remember, um, and your as you were a caretaker yourself, did your first had heart attack happen?
Even before that,
It was before that,
but
right?
I had a couple while I was taking care of her.
Yeah.
Being a caregiver, and I don't say this to pat myself on the back, this applies to anybody,
Yeah.
is a brutal situation to be in. I have friends that are in that situation right now, and I've seen it take them down. I have a friend right now that's just beginning to go through that. I'm trying to coach him and counsel him and make sure that it doesn't take him down too, because it will.
Absolutely. I've seen it. I've witnessed it with you. I've witnessed it with my grandmother. You know, it's because it's all encompassing.
It is. It takes everything you have. It
You were
takes
working full time.
yeah. I got a, an in-home service called Comfort Keepers
Yes.
to come in and sit with her 7 hours a day, 5 days a week so that I could work because we still had to have an income.
Yes.
I was not old enough or in a financial position to retire.
I think that's a part of a part of the situation that is so hard to really think about because y'all were so young
Mm,
for this to happen.
yeah. That's where I think I learned, a lot about myself, and I think I learned that, no matter how bad you think your situation is, you just gotta look around a little bit, you find people that have it worse than you,
Yeah.
and it gives you a perspective that I've tried to carry with me through the rest of my life. Um, no matter how bad you think you got it, somebody is carrying a bigger cross
Yeah.
than you're carrying. Someone said to me once, I don't recall who it was, it stuck with me. Everyone is carrying a cross. You don't really know how big their cross is unless you really know the person. And you can always find someone, who has a bigger, heavier cross than you have. It's true.
Uh, a lot of this want to have these conversations with people around me is because I think that, um, in our world, it's easy to turn on the TV or a podcast like we're doing, or you get on social media and everyone feels very divided, right? But but it's not but I what I hope people garner from all of this and what they gain is that we actually have more in common than we have in a difference.
But
You just don't know what somebody is going through, so we
and
need to have
usually
grace.
gets more headlines
Always.
and more attention than cohesion does.
Yes, and I think all of us need to be aware that it is a vehicle to try and get us to do certain things, but you can't buy into it because that doesn't work.
She experienced social media in your 70s, trying to figure out it took me a long time to figure out that it was drawing out a lot of anger out of me, and I was getting in angry, and I had to back away from it and say, "Look, this is not doing anybody any good when I get in an online discussion with somebody I don't know about politics or religion or
Alright.
whatever."
Yes.
I've learned really to scale back my comments on almost everything now. I hardly ever comment on anything unless it's a friend's post and it's not really controversial, then I'll comment on it. And there's a few people I can talk politics with. One of the dangers of my life is I'm a very passionate person. But passion can be dangerous.
Yes, and we can have blinders on, and it can shut down people around us that we really love. This is not a social media class, but I think a lot of people just don't recognize that, um I mean, my best advice to people is to just say nothing. Don't like anything, don't love
Yeah,
anything,
that's true.
because everyone's watching, it's always documented, and maybe those conversations are best had in person or just not at all.
If you were to examine my posts on social media, principally Facebook, which it was first Facebook to me was just a place to find people I'd lost touch with,
Well, that's
and it was
really the biggest
great
thing.
by that.
Yeah,
I found so many people that worked for me, that were friends, that once in my life that, you know, life went this way and we just lost each other.
yeah.
I loved that.
That's its best use.
Pardon me?
That's its best use.
Absolutely, and it
Yeah,
was perfect for that. But then I got drawn into stuff, and if you were to look at my posts in the last since my heart failure,
yeah.
I think you would find that 99% of them are very positive. I make a conscious effort to post funny stuff, to post uplifting stuff, just because I don't want to post negative stuff anymore. I did initially when I first got on. I got sucked in the political hole.
Oh, no.
Oh, it was horrible stuff that I was posting.
People it's I think and that's another, this is maybe yeah. This is not what this podcast is about, this is about your story, but this is part of your story, so, I mean, look, I mean, at the end of the day, the cancel culture is a big problem. We can't cancel each other out just because we have a disagreement. We need to learn to have conversations and to just move it's okay to disagree.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's say, "Okay, that's your belief, that's my belief." But you said something that I think is the perfect leeway and to transition into, um, a big piece of your story. It's not what defines you by any stretch of the imagination. But you have faced death, which sounds really dramatic to say. But I was in that hospital room and I saw you, and I saw somebody who was facing a decision that most of us will never have to make for ourselves. And you have I mean, you are like a cat that has 9 lives. You have you have thankfully, you have had I don't know how many heart attacks.
I think 7.
It's unbelievable. 7 heart attacks, 6, 7 heart attacks.
They became non-events to me.
As your daughter-in-law and someone who lives with your son, they were certainly huge events. But that's fair. That's a fair way to think about it. So how many years has it been since?
Since my heart failed,
Yes.
November of 22, so 3 and not quite a half years yet.
So you have what would have killed most people.
If I didn't have the surgery, the technology, and the people available when it happened, I would not be here.
So to I know the story, but and correct me if I'm wrong, but from my recollection of that time, you were told and you were very fortunate that you were a candidate for the LVAD,
Oh, yeah.
which for those of you who are listening or watching, that is a heart pump, for lack of a better term. You are literally alive because of this machine,
I am.
which
Um,
is incredible to think about. We're sitting in the room with the machine that is keeping you alive.
yep.
What was it like? Walk me back to that day where you were told by your doctors, it's this or that, sir.
Okay.
These are your decisions.
I thought I was having another heart attack. And I know it sounds stupid, but it's like, okay, they're gonna put a stent in me. It's gonna open up an artery, and I'm gonna be fine again. And it was happening all day long. I was home alone. My wife was gone.
Sure.
She was shopping with her mother in an all day shopping thing. It kept getting worse, and I kept thinking, "Oh, this won't go away." And so eventually I called an ambulance on my own. And it turns out that she got home right when the ambulance pulled in the driveway, which must have terrified her. And they took me to St. Francis because it was the closest hospital where my cardiologist was, and went into the ER. When you're a heart attack patient, you get top priority in an ER.
That's the
Lots lots
that's
of
the
folks have gone to the ER and they sit
magic
around the
words,
darn ER for 3 hours waiting to get seen.
not you.
No, they take you right in.
Yeah.
And,
Well, because time is everything.
sorry?
Time is everything.
Oh, absolutely. And I remember she came back to she had left the examining room. She came back, she goes, "They're gonna take you to St. Mary's from St. Francis." I said, "Why?" She goes, "Well, that's every hospital system has their heart hospital. St. Mary's has to be the heart hospital for, Bon Secours, Mercy." So, they plopped me in an ambulance and took me over to, um, St. Mary's, and then it was made known to me that I was having left side heart failure, that the left side of my heart had just said, "See you later, we're done, we can't do this anymore." My cardiologist never explained to me that that might be coming. In retrospect, I understood a lot now about what he was saying, but he never sat me down and said, "By the way, this is not good and this is not heading in a good direction and this could happen." So I was taken aback. And the doctor that was primarily responsible for my health at St. Mary's, what a title she had, Chief of Heart Failure, of all things.
Yeah.
And she scared the living bejesus out of me. She was a brilliant woman. She was not only an MD, but a PhD. She was from Poland, a Polish American, and she was very intimidating. And she came into me and said, "You need to have this surgery. If you don't have this surgery, we're going to put you in hospice." This was mid November. She said, her exact words were, "You will be dead by Christmas."
I just
Give me a second. That scared the crap out of me. I wasn't ready to die. And so I said, "Well, let's get on with the surgery. She goes, just a minute. First you have to qualify. And my first thought was money. I thought she means, do you have enough money to have this surgery? Which, by the way, the surgery in the hospital ended up costing $3.5 million. She said, oh, no, it has nothing to do with money. She said, you have to have a physical first. We have to make sure that there's nothing else in your body that's already fatal, cancer primarily. So I got the world's best physical rep.
Yeah, you did.
And they put me through the ringer. And the good news is I came out of it and they decided that I was a candidate for the surgery. I needed one other thing to get that surgery. And I had that too.
You did.
So, so we did the surgery and I wasn't afraid of the surgery. I knew that if I didn't have it, I wasn't going to be here. So it was a no-brainer. I didn't really even know exactly what it was. They gave me this great big book to study prior to the surgery. It was a notebook. Honest to God, it was like a 4-inch notebook. And they kept getting mad at me because I wasn't reading it. Well, first of all, I was very, very sick.
You were
I was in bad shape. They
Yes.
kept me alive because I went in the hospital prior to Thanksgiving. I was too sick to do the surgery. And then it came around that Thanksgiving was coming around, and they didn't want me in the OR on the Thanksgiving holiday. So it was the 26th of November. I went in on this. I think it was the 6th. So I was there almost 3 weeks before they did the surgery. And I just wanted to get it over with. I wanted to get it done because they told me that would save my life. But the other thing she told me about that I will never forget, the device that I wear now is a bridge to a transplant. The purpose of the device is to keep you alive until they can get a heart for you. But she said, but you don't get a transplant. And I said, why not? Well, she's already made me mad because she told me she's going to put me in hospice, but I can't do surgery and stuff. She said, you're too old. I was 69 at the time. And I said, wait, what do you mean I'm too old? I felt 50. I didn't feel 69. That's when I began to feel my age. She goes, we're not going to invest the time, the technology, and the very rare heart into someone who's not going to live a lot longer. Okay.
The startling truths that we're faced with.
In retrospect, after the surgery was over, I don't know, a year after the surgery was over, I said, oh, I couldn't go through it again. I don't want a transplant. They've cut me open. They've taken my heart out of my body. They have sewn a pump onto my left ventricle and tucked it back in and sewed me back up again. And open heart surgery, they take your heart out of your body completely and put in a new one. And I thought, I don't think I can make it. I don't think I got what it takes. It really took a lot out of me. Really.
I know it did. I
You-
as an observer, it was obvious it did.
Everybody around me knows more about it than I do because I was so drugged up. It's weird the memories I have and the things I've forgotten. I remember your mom and dad said to me, we came in to visit you. Do you remember? And I said, I'm sorry.
I think that's a good thing that you don't.
I don't remember my own daughter visiting me. I remember being mad because I didn't think she'd come in.
And she certainly was there.
Oh, yes. But
So I do wanna ask some of these questions. So you're extremely sick, you're in the bed. Sick is an understatement, and you never were worrying about the actual procedure.
no, I didn't really know what it was. I knew that there was something there that could save me, and I just wanted to get it done. I remember when they took me for the most of my stay there, I was in the uh, CICU, cardiac intensive care unit.
Yeah.
Prior and after the surgery, they moved me into the cardiovascular intensive, so just a different cardiac care unit. But I remember when they moved me into there before the surgery, I was real happy because I was finally going to get this done. 'cause it kept dragging on and dragging on while they did all these tests and evaluations and whatnot, and, to me trying to get me better so I was in some sort of condition
To
where they could operate on me,
yeah.
and, so I was really happy when I remember being wheeled into the operating room, and I only saw my surgeon one time prior to that. That was when he came to my bedside for a surgical evaluation with the doctor who told me I was gonna die if I didn't have the surgery. Yeah, and
Mrs. Cheerful, Mrs. Good News.
so I was waiting to see him. Of course, I didn't see him in the OR. I remember being wheeled in. Somewhere along the line, they gave me a sedative. I don't remember it. And bright lights, tall ceiling, people up in the gallery watching the surgery. Everybody's very busy running around getting stuff. And next thing I knew, I woke up, I think it was like 2 or 3 days later, back in the CVICU, and I was a mess. I was intubated, which I didn't understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even though I knew about that stuff, I I couldn't talk because I had a big pipe down your throat. I remember Brian came in. I think it was my wife. Maybe it was you. I don't know.
I did not come in.
I tried to talk to them and I couldn't talk. And I was trying the sign language of the deaf, which I used to know, and I couldn't move my hand. I couldn't do that. And then Brian got me something
He got you a whiteboard.
so that I don't even remember what I was trying to say. Who knows? I was so drugged up that,
You you were out of your well, and you were out of your mind on pain meds and
oh,
sedatives, I'm sure, to
right,
keep yourself
right.
where you were. Do you so for those of of us who are not familiar with an LVAD, they they have a do they have a timestamp on them?
How long will it last? I worried about that.
Yeah.
Well, after the surgery, I had to go back to, we'll call it clinic, to the office where the doctor was. Initially, it's like every week, and then after you've been out a while, it's once a month, and then once every 2 months. Now I'm at 4 times a year, which is great. Um, there was a poster in the clinic that I'd seen a dozen times, and one day I was waiting for the doctor to come in. And I read the poster, and it said, 50% of LVAD patients live an extra 5 years. And I went,
I remember hearing that
what?
stat.
And so I asked him, I said, is that what I got to look forward to? Is just 5 years and I'm out of here? Oh, no, no, no. Bam. Everybody said, in fact, one of the nurses, I think, told me, she goes, I have an LVAD patient that's been my patient for 15 years. So again, it's a curve kind of thing. And it scared me at first. I thought, well, 5 years and I'm checking out, or maybe less. And then I got around to thinking, well, you know what? Whatever I get is extra time. It'll be what it'll be. No different than you and me right now. You don't know how long you're gonna
I
live.
have no idea.
I don't know how long I'm gonna live. Um, Friends of mine who, work in the, plumbing industry said, "Hey, it's a pump. Pumps work forever. It's all wear out." Literally, I've been told that. Uh,
How has having this experience, having an LVAD, changed the way that you view life?
it definitely has. It's much more precious to me now when you face it. And certainly I'm not alone in this. I mean, I faced death and because of a heart failure. People face death with cancer, gunshot wounds, car accidents. When you face it, I think you maybe appreciate it more. We tend to think that, okay, we all expect to live into our 80s now. That's the kind of normal lifespan for a human being these days, somewhere in there. We don't think about it very much. We just think we're going to get there, realizing that average comes from a curve of people dying in infancy and people dying in their hundreds. But I just decided that I'd been given a gift, a huge gift. And I remember I'm in a Catholic hospital. I'm a Catholic. A priest came in to see me one day that I really, really liked. And I had been searching for a way to get back involved in my faith, and then I walked away from it. I'm not ashamed to say it. I don't like the fact that I did, but I did. And I said to him, I said, I didn't know this man, didn't know him from Adam. First time he'd ever met me. And I said, why am I still here?
Mm, a question a lot of people ask themselves that
I
are
thought,
faced with that.
I really thought, I don't deserve this. I haven't been a good boy, you know? And he gave the answer, I think, any minister, any priest, any rabbi would give was, it wasn't your time. Especially somebody you don't know. What are you gonna say to them? I think that's a standard answer for them. And he's probably right. You know, everyone has a time. We don't know when it is. But then I said to him, what do I do with the rest of my life? Again, this man did not know me from Adam. And he said something that really grabbed me because I've been trying to do. They said, make people happy.
Just that simple.
Weird answer.
Mm, but really loaded.
Yeah. But I decided I was going to do that. So that's kind of what I've been trying to do with the rest of my life. Forgive the tears.
The normal part of
He also made me angry, though, because I said to him, he was a retired parish priest. He was a priest up in Ashland. I think St. Anne's, I think, is a church up there near the hospital. I don't know that area very well, but I really liked the guy a lot. Him is Father Christian Haydinger, and he's on staff at the chapel in St. Mary's, but he's retired. And I told him, I said, man, I'm really looking to find a way to get back into it again because I've fallen off the horse on the faith thing. And he goes, I don't have time for you. I'm retired. I can't help you. And I was really pissed. You know, I'm pissed at a priest. Like, his job in life is to save me. And he just got through telling me he didn't have time for me. I was angry. I was very angry. Very
but
confused, too.
but so how did you reconcile that?
Well, go forward. I mean, first I started saying, okay, I'll find it on my own. I'll find a way. And in the meantime, I'm gonna try and make people happy because that made sense to me. And fast forward, I don't know, a couple of years, a friend of mine and I were having a conversation. This is so weird. And we came to the conclusion that we were both looking to get back into church again. I went to church with you and Brian and Anders for a while and I loved it. And then you moved on me.
I know it.
And I don't feel bad about that. But um it happened to be the church where Joanne was buried.
Yes. The irony is so great.
Freaky coincidence. But anyways, this friend of mine and I were talking and she said she wanted to get back into church again too. She's a Southern Baptist, a typical Southern girl whom I love to death. Northern Catholic, Southern Baptist. What are we going to do? So we decided over a glass of whiskey one night to just start going to local churches and find one that we both liked, and that's where we would go. And so we started randomly going to Powhatan churches. She would take one, then I would take one. She would take one, then I would take one. And after the church service, we'd get in the parking lot. We'd be like, well, what'd you think? Did you like the minister or the priest? Did you like the service? Did you like the message? Did you like the people?
You were dating
Amazing.
churches.
It's amazing how different each
Sure,
church
yeah.
is.
It's a different culture.
And we ended up at a Baptist church that I have driven by 1,000 times, less than a quarter mile from my house.
It's funny.
And I'm suffering guilt from that, but I'm also enjoying the heck out of it.
What makes you feel guilty?
Well, I'm raised in a Catholic church. It's very regimented and it's very, I don't know what the right word is, imposing. I mean, technically I could be excommunicated.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And
I was confirmed.
but I didn't go to the Catholic Church in my hometown here in Virginia because, unfortunately, I knew too much about the priests. Now, I had gotten sideways with the Catholic Church anyway, and a lot of issues, but I could deal with that. But the priest there was one of those priests that you read about that, should not be there.
Sure.
But the Catholic Church, because they can't get priests in America anymore, was doing everything to hang on to their existing priests no matter what they did. And it ruined the church in a lot of ways. Powhatan had one, and I won't go into details about it, but so I just didn't go there and didn't want to go there. And they finally got a new priest when this gentleman retired. And my friend and I went there one day, and she's very adamant, like, "I'm not gonna be a damn Catholic," and that was okay, I got it. Because it's kinda like going to a synagogue for anybody else, it's very, very different. And, but we went to one service, I made her go. Well, the new priest is from Ghana, and neither one of us could understand the man. He's a good man, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to throw shade on him, but his accent is so thick and so heavy, we both left and said, "What did he say?" "I don't know."
Do you really believe that, it really matters what denomination church you're going to?
No, I don't, but yet a part of me is still brainwashed, if that's the right word, by a lifetime in the I went to church every day of my life from 1st grade through ninth grade. Every day went to mass.
Don't you think it I'm of the belief that it's you could go to church every day of your life, but if you're not living your life, if you're not living your life right, you've canceled it out.
Exactly right.
So you found a home in a place, um, of a re and you found a church, which is a wonderful thing.
It's a great church.
How are you making people happy?
Mostly little ways, because the little ways turn into big ways.
Sure.
Um,
A man sitting here with an LVAD is making other people happy. I love that.
why not?
Why not?
Most people have no idea what this is. Most people look at me and they kind of see the bumps under my shirt, and most people are too polite to say, "What is that?" Every now and then somebody will get really bold and say, it happened to me yesterday morning. A guy said, "What?" He literally said, "What the hell is that under your shirt?" And it took me a while to come up with an answer.
Do you think he was worried that was like a
I don't
bomb
even
or
know what it was. You
yeah.
can see, I mean, you can see all the balls.
Yes.
You can't hide
No,
this.
you cannot.
He just didn't know what it was. And he's one of those good old boys who's like, "What's going on there?"
Just real
And
blunt.
it took me a long time, not that day, but prior to that, when I was asked that question, to find an answer for people. Now I just say, "It's my heart." And they're like, "What?" And then I lift my shirt and I show them. And they're like, "Oh my God, well, what is all that stuff?" I said, "It's what keeps me alive." I went to a memorial service for a husband of a friend of mine Sunday at Hardywood, where you used to have
Yeah,
gatherings with your company.
I did.
And my uh, dermatologist was there, and I love her. She's spectacular.
You ought to love her. You're in there a lot too.
I am. Well, we're getting better at that. She's found some ways to get me out of there, but, uh, I didn't like her at first, but I really like her now. And I met her husband, who's also a physician. He was an ER physician who went on to buy a bunch of Doc in the Boxes. He's a businessman, but anyways, I have my backpack on because it has my spare parts in it.
Yeah.
If something fails, I have spare parts in my bag. I get one out, I replace it, and I'm good to go. I depend on electricity to be alive.
Yes, you do. Interesting that's have you ever thought about that?
What? Yeah. That's how it circles back? Oh, yeah.
That you might be electrical engineer?
I but he looked at my, I can't wear very many clothes that hide this, so I just don't think about it anymore. I wear what I wear, and you can see the bumps, and some people ask, and some people don't. But his wife said, "Terry has an LVAD," and he's a physician, so he knew what it was. But he saw my backpack, and he goes, "Is that it?" I said, "No, no, it's right here. The backpack is just full of spare parts." I explained it to him. I don't always pull up my shirt in public and say, "Look at this," but if I'm in a position where somebody could benefit from that, I'll show them. It's something that is definitely a part of my life. I put this on in the morning. At night, I take the batteries off, but the controller is still there, and I hook up to a wall unit, um, and put the batteries in a charger so they'll be charged
You
in
s
the event that I
you
need.
literally sleep plugged up.
Yeah,
Yep.
I got 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of batteries, and I just passed my 3-year mark a few months ago, and so they replaced all my batteries. $12,000 for the batteries just for the
Unreal.
keep me alive.
It is an interesting thing to think about the full circle of it. It's a little bit ironic. It's a little bit it is. I mean, obviously, when I talk to you about it and what I see sitting across when I'm listening to you as your daughter-in-law, you've taken something that you could have just taken a totally different path with it. And is it too much to say that you almost live with it as a blessing,
Oh, absolutely.
which is
Without this, I would not be here.
right, obviously,
What bigger blessing could you get than that?
but it's also the way you've chosen your outlook because you don't have a negative outlook about it. You're not woe is me, you're not I'm dying. It's I have a second chance.
I think earlier we talked about the perspective thing.
Yeah.
When you look around and see other people, what they're going through, and you say, you know what? There's so many people that are worse off than I am. I have no right to be crying, whiny, moaning about this. I got it easy compared. I have a friend whose wife just died. What day is today? Friday,
Friday.
Tuesday. And she got Parkinson's disease out of nowhere, and it progressed very rapidly. And her husband, who's one of my coffee buddies, one of the OGs I go to coffee with, has all kinds of medical issues.
Yeah.
And he had to deal with being her caregiver, and she passed away very quickly. And I'm like, I'm still here. Look at that. They went through hell. I went through hell too, but I'm still here.
Yeah.
I sat in, after my surgery, I had trouble making hemoglobin. I don't know why. So my blood was all messed up, my blood work. And so I had to get iron infusions. You get them at the cancer center in St. Francis. You go over there, and it took me a couple of times to realize. I think I got 4 or 5 of them. I'm sitting there. You come in. They sit you in a padded lounge chair. They say, "Mr. Krupp, what would you like to drink today? We've got water, we've got orange juice, we've got soda. Mr. Krupp, what would you like for a snack today? We've got pretzels, we've got chips, we've got peanuts, we got cookies." And then, they stick a needle in your arm and you sit there for an hour while this bag of iron, liquefied iron, drains in your arm. And then they say, "Good job, thank you, we'll see you next time." And you go home. And it took me about 2 trips there to realize, wait a minute, I'm sitting here getting iron. And I've said these people are getting poison. They're trying to kill cancer.
Maybe maybe your body wasn't making iron so you could get that perspective.
Maybe. I heard the bell ring one day and I asked my nurse, I said, what was that? And everybody started clapping. She said, somebody just took their last chemo treatment.
Yeah.
I'm getting iron. They're getting poison. There's perspective for you right there. I can be sad. I can go, man, am I a lucky dog?
Yeah. It's just a choice, right? It's a choice.
We always choose what we're going to be. Sometimes we don't realize it. And being depressed and being angry is the easy choice. It really is. I was mad at God for a long time
Well, understandably. So you start to question things.
until I realized that, my friend Karen says, nothing is a coincidence and you don't get anything that you can't handle. You just got to do it. You got to handle it. Right?
When you look back um, hindsight's always 2020.
Oh,
We're always guilty of it.
absolutely.
We always wanna go back and but when you look back, do you think, having a career like you did, for any of us, those of us who are under tremendous amounts of stress, managing people, growing businesses, do you think that had any impact on your health?
Absolutely. No question in my mind.
What would you have done different?
I don't know the answer to that question because you are what you are,
Yeah,
and A, recognizing it, and then B, changing your behavior,
yeah.
very hard to do. The worst thing I ever did to myself was I was a 50-year smoker. Stupidest thing you could do, and I started smoking because a girl I was dating was a smoker, and I felt left out. How about that? And then I actually liked it,
Yeah, that's
and,
very addicting.
oh, nicotine is a wicked master.
Yes.
Wicked master. But sure, I found a way to quit the hard way. Be in a hospital for 3 months and almost die, and that will make you quit. But, uh, there's also a history in my family.
Yes.
My sister has had open heart surgery. My mother had open heart surgery. It's only 4 in my family, and 3 of us had open heart surgery.
So, do you think it's a collision of all 3?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I do.
family history,
And I was
smoking, and
hypertensive, and
then
I was hyper.
lots of stress.
Yes.
And then becoming a care it wasn't just career stress, it was also stress of being a
Life
caretaker.
stress,
Like
career stress,
yes.
self-imposed, almost all of it. The day that I retired, I remember standing in the shower that morning. Yeah, like everybody else, I'd get up in the morning, I'd have my coffee, I'd take my shower, I'd get dressed, and I'd go out the door to work. And without fail, my shower would be the time I thought about, okay, what hammer is going to fall on me today? The ones that I know about, the ones that I don't know are coming down around the corner, and every day. And when I retired, I remember just taking that shower that next day and went, I don't have to worry about that stuff anymore.
There's no
Sure, there's
hammers.
still going to be stresses, but they aren't going to be coming from work. I'm one of the few people I know that does not have my email on my phone, not because I get work emails anymore, but I used to be tied to my email. Now I don't want to be. I look at email when I look at email.
And we're tied to now I'm tied to email and text messages,
Right. I send
voicemail.
text, but it's a very tight group of people that I text with.
Yeah.
So
It's a gr I mean, for me, it's and it would have been the same for you in sales. It's a gift because it is a way to communicate with people that need my help.
it's a gift, but it's also a chain. It's anchor that.
Without boundaries, it becomes detrimental.
Yeah,
So one last thing I wanna ask you. So, this is called unfolding because our life is always unfolding.
it is.
So what's next for you? What's on the horizon? What are you working on? What are you doing? Do you have hope for the future?
I do want to travel a little bit more, and traveling is very hard for
Happy
me.
to hear you say that.
Sorry?
I'm happy to hear you say that.
Well, my sister's very ill.
I know.
At 10 years older than me and being very ill, whatever time I have left with her is getting short, and we're very close,
Yes, I know you are.
which is funny because growing up, we didn't have time to get close. Like I said, when I was 8, she was gone.
Yeah, she's a lovely, lovely human
Got
being.
married and, moved away. She's always been
Yes.
part of my life, but they moved all over the country too for the longest time. So we're close. Um, and their winter in Phoenix and their summer in Michigan. Not sure how much longer that's going to continue, but so I want to be able to go and see them and see other people and stuff. And my daughter actually just said to me, I don't know if she told you this or if I told you
No,
this.
you told me in the car.
That's right. That she called me up and said, "Hey, let's go out west this summer." And I went, "Okay." I don't know if my sister will be there in the summertime because it's really hot in Vegas in the summertime. But her son, my oldest grandson, has never been out west, and I didn't realize that because Anders has had the benefit of traveling an incredible amount in this
Well,
country.
we just got back from being out
You
west.
did, which is
Yes.
wonderful because I never left my home. I never was never more than 40 miles from my home until I was 18 years old.
It's not an uncommon story.
No, it's not. But so I'm starting to get excited about maybe going out west with her family
What else
was
do you
here.
wanna do?
I don't have high aspirations or high expectations. I wanna keep getting my life together. I have to get my
It's really interesting hearing you say that because you're in your early 70s, and I think people have this illusion that, like, people have their life together, but it's always evolving,
it is,
and it's like, let's let the
I
it
guess it's together whenever you think it's together. I don't think it's together. I am trying to get rid of things
Yeah,
because my children have told me that when I die, that there's gonna be dumpsters in my yard and everything
a
I've
lot of
got's
people
going
say
in the dumpster, and that just guts me even though I won't be here. So I've gotten rid of a ton of guitars, a ton of other things that I liked that I know I won't be using anymore, and I'm trying to pare down things from the previous relationship that ended, where we ended up, she happened to be a collector, I'm gonna be polite, and I'm
stuff.
still finding things.
Yeah, things weigh you down.
I'm trying to make it easy for when I pass on for my children to clean up behind me.
What is Terry doing for himself?
I am
You're not materialistic.
no, I am not. So I tell people, I don't want anything. There's nothing I want. Nothing. In fact, I'm getting rid of things rather than collecting things. I want to finish my journey so that when I die, I will go to heaven. That's what I want. And I believe, and I think that's where I told one of the nurses in the hospital, the clinic where I go back to, I said, I'm not afraid to die. When this happened to me, I was scared to death of dying. I was not ready to die. I'm ready now. I don't want to die now,
Yeah.
but I'm ready. I feel like when I die now, I'm going to go to heaven. And I look at it. Don't let me forget to tell you one other cool part about it. I don't want to be one of these people, we call them Bible thumpers, who you run into them at a party, you're like, "Oh, God." This person, you're like a Seventh-day Adventist or whatever, no offense to any listening, that they wanna push religion upon you. I don't wanna be that kind of person, but I wanna be available to help people find what I threw away and have just rediscovered. And I got a really important piece of news. My daughter, she's gonna shoot me for this, but she tends to drop bombs on me in texts. Instead of face to face, we'll have a texting conversation. In the middle of that, she'll drop a bomb, and I'll look at it. Sometimes it slides right by, and I'll go back and I read that, and I go, "What?" And she started going back to church. And I had asked her to go to church with me, and she didn't really have an interest. And I get it, and so I didn't push it.
Oh, no, everyone's on their own journey.
Absolutely. But I went to the pastor of the church that I'm going to, and I said, "How do I work this? This is what I want, but it's a dangerous minefield, and I don't know how to do it." And he guided me a little bit, but I don't think I can take any responsibility for her decision to start going to church again.
No, no, it's a very individual piece
Absolutely.
and division.
Look,
I mean, decision.
that makes me really, really happy that she's doing that. And she said, "Will you go to church with me?" And I said, "Absolutely. You just say when, and I'll go with you." I said, "But there's a caveat to that. You got to come with me too, because I want her to meet my people and see what I'm involved in."
Yeah.
She, God bless her, is my primary nurse now.
Yes.
Talk about lucky again. My daughter's a nurse whose specialty is cardiology. What? Look at that. That's amazing. She understands this. She teaches this. She knows all about it.
The blessings all around.
Oh my God. So that's really cool. But now that I'm getting older and now that I'm alone and don't need anybody trying to rob me because I got lots of guns and lots of dogs. What? She's like, "Daddy, you need to move in with me." I'm like, no way. We've had many discussions about that. And there's lots of reasons I don't want to do that. First of all, I do value my independence as long as I can be independent. I want to
You're doing great.
I am so far, which is good. I mean, if I wanna eat dinner at 3:30 in the afternoon, guess what I do? I eat dinner at 3:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
If I wanna go do
That
something,
moves you into the OG club, which
yeah,
is the old guy club.
exactly. I just do it, and, I love my daughter with all my heart, both my children and their spouses, you included, I'm so blessed. But,
Thank you.
I said to her, I said, "You don't realize what it's like when grandpa moves in with your family. Your family dynamic changes dramatically." You know, and I said, "You don't want that?" And we're very different. She and I are
That's what makes the world go round.
it's true, but, uh, there are some minefields there that we have to tiptoe through, it's getting better, it's getting much better, but I said, "I just don't wanna live with you, no offense."
I don't think anyone I mean, look, at the end of the day, you're an independent person,
Stubbornly so.
and I think that it's a it's I mean, it's a miracle that we're sitting in this room together,
It is indeed.
and you have gone through so much, but you keep fighting, and I think it's easy to look at the I think you are a reminder when I talk to you that you have a choice. The glass is half full or it's half empty, and
Or
you get
glass
to
is
decide.
overflowing, you just
Yet,
know it.
you just don't know it. You just haven't looked around.
That's the way I try to look at it.
Is there anything we didn't talk about that you're surprised or you wanted to say?
There's I think there's 3 or 4 things that keep me going right now that for me, have helped a lot. Obviously, family
Yes.
has been critically important to me all my life, and I'm blessed. A lot of my friends, their children are far away. Mine are within stone's throw. That's wonderful. Number 2, I got a tremendous circle of friends,
You do.
and being an extrovert, um, friends are important to me. They're chosen. They're very carefully culled into what I let into my world, and they're great people. And that was one thing that scared me about moving to my daughter's. Even though it's only 15 miles away, I would be taken out of my community, away from my friends. It just wouldn't be as easy. I know 15 miles is like, that's nothing. When you get to be an OG and you can't drive as much as you could, 15 miles seems like forever.
Community is one of the biggest reasons that they are pointing towards longevity.
Same thing with my church. I'm developing a community within the
Sure.
church. And right now it's very small, but I have a personal relationship with the pastor who's a great guy. And we sit in the same place every Sunday and we started to bond with these people that sit around us. And that's also important to me. But ultimately, you're right. You choose how you want to be to a certain extent. Some people can't choose their health. Things happen to
Yep.
people that they lived in a pristine life and they still get Parkinson's or cancer or whatever. But you still, if you're alive, you can, in some points, at least the blessing I have, I can choose how to deal with it. There will come a day, I know, sometime when I can no longer be independent, when a lot of choices are taken away from me. I don't look forward to that day.
No, I don't either.
And as you,
For myself, I don't look forward to that.
when I was your age, I never thought about that. And as you get to the point where someone put it, there's more sand in the bottom of my hourglass than there is in the top. You start to think about those things. You know what I hate? I hate reading about all the people that I love that are in the music business and a few in the entertainment business that are dead. And it's like, damn it, that's me coming up pretty soon. And I'm not a Hollywood star kind of person, but there are talented people that I really like, even though I don't really
Well,
know them.
it timestamps where we are. It tells us where we are in the spectrum.
That's why eternity is so important to me. I look at this journey that we're on, and we're here 80-ish years, give or take, whatever it's gonna be. That's an average number, I think. And you look at that compared to eternity, and you look at the vastness of everything around us. There has to be an eternity. Maybe there isn't. If I'm wrong, I got nothing to lose. I lead a good life. I be good to people. I don't do anything bad. And if that's all that I get out of it, okay. If I'm right, I get everything. That's not a bad trade.
Doesn't sound like it to me.
We can't really imagine eternity,
No.
but I can imagine, say, 100 times our lifetime, and that's at least finite, and I can think about that. Um, I'm definitely at the point where I wanna consider what could happen after this and anything I can do to get myself there, and not the cool part about it is I don't do it with just because of that. I do it because it's the right thing to do, you know? But I'm no better than anybody else. I'm not spectacular. I'm just dealing with my circumstances the way I deal with them. I don't know.
It's a it I think that's not giving yourself the credit, but that's how a lot of us live,
I got
and
lots of blessings. I don't need credit for that. I didn't have anything to do with it. You got to recognize them sometimes.
that's it.
Maybe that's the difference is that I
Okay.
recognize the blessings.
Well, I appreciate you sitting down with me and talking about all of this. I know it's not a everyday conversation that you get to sit across from somebody that, has faced, I think, the gravity of the health, um, crisis that you were in, and who has come out on the other side, who is, has a renewed faith and has excitement over your next chapter, and I think that's an
Mm.
inspiring story. And I appreciate you being bold enough to sit down and chat with me on video, uh, because
I would do anything for you.
well, thank you, but it's not about me. It's about
I understand that.
you and honoring your story, and hopefully someone will hear it and be inspired to choose to live their life in a different way, in a positive way.
One final thought that I had that I didn't
Sure,
get.
go ahead.
One thing I wanted to do once I started healing and got back to being normal again was I asked at the clinic if I could be like an LVAD ambassador to people that were in the hospital, either having just had the surgery or were about to have the surgery. The answer was no because of HIPAA laws. I can't know who's back there. I was in the ER one time, and the guy in the room right next to me was another LVAD patient, and we were not allowed to exchange any information or anything. It was kind of weird. HIPAA laws.
But
Can't help people with
maybe
this.
you could start a social media group. That wouldn't be hard to find.
It would be interesting. I never really had that thought.
Yeah, it's a great way to I think
It would teach me how to use new technology to
but
do things.
we heal through helping others.
I certainly do. Yeah.
Yes, it's a because then you have experience. I think that's an inspiring thing. Maybe that could be part of your next chapter.
Maybe so.
Maybe so. Thank you. I love sitting down talking to you.